Hey everybody, I thought I would do something different today. I thought I would do a video that shows you how I make my perfect kale chips. Kale chips? What? Who would have thought that vegetables could make a really nice salty snack? So I'm going to show you today. It's super simple, and then we're going to talk a little bit about why I think that vegetables are so difficult to get into our diets and how we can begin to change that. So all you're going to need is you're going to need a nice leafy bunch of curly kale lettuce, okay? You can do purple or green, it doesn't matter. Make sure that it's rinsed well. You're going to have some extra virgin olive oil, and you're also going to do some coarse ground sea salt. Now I like coarse ground. If you want fine ground, that's fine. You can also choose to use garlic powder or some other spices, depending on what your palate likes. I just like them plain with olive oil and with sea salt. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we prep our baking trays. So they're just cookie sheets, but here's the trick. You got to line them with either tin foil or parchment paper, okay? I keep forgetting to buy parchment paper at the grocery store, so I use tin foil and it works just fine. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set that temperature on the oven at 300, okay? So we're going to let that preheat. While we're doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to take these kale leaves and we're going to take them off of the stem. So you don't want that really woody stem to be on there because that gets really tough. You just want the leaves. So I'm just going to take each one of these, and you can see that their stem goes right down the middle. And if you look at it, oftentimes there are distinct leaves. So you just pull those off and put them in a bowl, okay? If you're going to tear off some odd shapes, it doesn't matter, but just make sure that you take off the center rib of those kale leaves, okay? So we're going to do that on all of these. This makes quite a big batch, but seriously, for like, what is it, $2.50 a bunch of kale, that's a lot cheaper than buying those prepackaged kale chips, and you get a whole lot more. So peeling those off, okay, just like so. See how that works? Excellent. And I just discard the stems, making sure that there's no tough parts in there. And you can make the leaves as big or as small as you want. I prefer them a little bit bigger because essentially what we're doing is we're dehydrating these leaves. That's what we're doing. So they're going to get really paper thin. They're going to get really dark. So don't let that fool you. It's still going to taste really, really good. So let's talk for a minute while I'm peeling these leaves about this whole notion about how vegetables are so hard to get into our diets. I think it's because we've kind of bought into that cultural mindset, you know, that vegetables are going to taste yucky. And as any of us who were kids know that sometimes they were. But, you know, let me tell you a story. I hated vegetables when I was a kid. Hated them. I did not like any kind of vegetables, really, other than maybe some broccoli, peas and corn. That was about it. And all of the people that I typically coach, that's a common theme, is that the vegetables that they like to eat are corn and potatoes, which, newsflash, they're not vegetables, okay? Those are starches. So I think part of it is, God bless my mother, she didn't really know how to cook these vegetables. We often did canned vegetables, which are fine. They're perfectly healthy for you, but then she would proceed to boil them to death. I think some of you could probably relate to that story. So, you know, asparagus boiled to death, spinach, oh, don't even go there. I could not handle mushy spinach lumped on my plate. Just didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. And in fact, we would go out to pizza joints and I would be the kid that would take forever picking off all of the mushrooms, all of the peppers, so that I could make this pizza palatable to me. Now, fast forward so many years, I'm not going to divulge that. Now, I love vegetables, and I eat them regularly, and a wide variety of them. I mean, if you would have told me that I would have been making kale chips as an adult, I would have said that you were crazy, okay? But first thing is, it's all in how you prepare them, okay? So if you can find a recipe or preparation and try it. That's the other piece, okay? I'll tell you another little secret. I hated Brussels sprouts when I was a kid. Brussels sprouts were nasty, especially if they're boiled to death and all you put on them was butter. Ugh. But I eat Brussels sprouts regularly, and in my next video series, I'm going to show you my favorite Brussels sprouts dish. It's all in how you prepare them, okay? So that's one key piece. That's one of my theories. Secondly, another theory that I have is that we, as a culture, have bought into the notion that everything should be pleasant. Every experience should be pleasant. It should not be difficult. It should not be challenging. And so therefore, when we are approached with an opportunity to try a new vegetable dish, most of us might turn our noses up at it. It looks gross. It smells gross. I know I don't like it, but let's really be honest here, people. Half the time when you say you don't like a vegetable, you've never even tried it. Am I right? Yeah, thought so. You know why? Because I pulled that trick, right? But part of life is exploring new things. So that's what we're doing here. And what's the worst that can happen? You try a recipe, it doesn't work out. Now you know that it doesn't work. But you might find, like I did, that actually kale chips are quite delicious. And I couldn't get enough of them. And they're super easy to make, like I said. So we're gonna finish this batch off, and then I'm gonna show you what I'm doing here. Okay, so you're gonna take a nice big bowl of kale chips. You can see that they're lots of different sizes. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take olive oil, and I usually like to do just like 2 capfuls. Why? Because I just don't feel like dirtying up a teaspoon or a tablespoon when I can just use the cap. So I'm just gonna take 1 cap and drizzle it over there. And I'm gonna take another cap and drizzle it over here. And now we're gonna massage the kale leaves so that every single leaf is coated. Not so that it's sopping wet, but so that it has a nice coat of olive oil on it, okay? So just massage those leaves. What this does is it helps them so that they will not dry up so much and burn, but also so that it helps the salt stick to them or other spices of your choice, okay? All right. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bowl of kale leaves, and we're gonna come over here, and what I like to do is I like to just massage them fully, again, to make sure that all of that olive oil is on there, and I lay them in a single sheet onto my cookie sheet, okay, one right next to another. So you're gonna try, I would encourage you to fill them as much as you can. Try not to overlap them, well, not necessarily overlap them, but don't put one on top of the other, okay, because you want them to have equal access to all of that warm air in the oven, okay? So we're gonna do this. I'm gonna finish my discourse. So in other words, about getting vegetables in your diet, the worst that can happen is you try a recipe and you don't like it. But the best thing that can happen is that you find out that you do like it and it becomes a regular part of your diet, okay? And I've had a lot of coaching clients that have done that. I've given them recipes, or their wives have tried something new, and they're absolutely surprised at how much they like them. Even Brussels sprouts, can you believe it? Who'd have thought? So, and sometimes, you know, we think that it's our kids that we have the toughest time convincing to try vegetables, but really it's the parents. It can't be, just because we're not confident in the kitchen. We don't know how to create recipes or find recipes that the kids will like. But here's another little secret that I learned at a nutrition conference. Children, particularly young children, their whole part of growing up is exploration, okay? And so what they've discovered in their research is that it will take a child 9 to 10 times of being exposed to a new food before they will try it. Because they have to explore it, they have to feel it, they have to smell it. God forbid they have to stick it up their nose, but that may be part of the exploration process. Sorry, Mom. And so this is part of how they process this. So just because your kids turn up their nose at a vegetable dish that you make the first time, keep trying. Just keep trying. What I might suggest is just don't make a lot of that new dish. Give them a little bit of a taste, see how they like it, and just keep going until you expose them to that. The other trick to this, or the other piece of this, is that it's just a matter of being exposed to it. Children will eat what they're exposed to. Children will eat what their parents model for them. There are kids out there that eat broccoli without any fuss, without any fight, they love it. They love kale chips. Why? Because their parents eat it. Their parents show that they like it, they've modeled it, and they let their kids take their time getting used to these new foods, okay? Adults are no different. Sometimes we have to get used to it by trial and error and finding recipes that work, that taste good, that are easy. Speaking of easy, this is really super easy. It just takes a little bit of time to get them prepped and put on the baking sheet, okay? But a whole head of kale, you can put that in a plastic bag and that will last for several days, okay? And they make really great accompaniments to like burgers, turkey burgers or veggie burgers or even beef burgers, whatever your burger choice is, okay? So what I'm going to do here is just to speed things up, I'm going to wash my hands. Then I'm going to put some salt. Okay, now I like, again, the coarse salt on my veggie chips, my Kale chips. So I'm pretty liberal with it. So I just like to sprinkle it on there. Plus it allows me to see how much I'm getting on there so I don't over salt it. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're just going to put this in the oven for 17 minutes, somewhere between 17 and 20 minutes. It really kind of depends on where you're at, what area of the country, and you just kind of want to watch it. But I would say in all of my trial and error, 17 minutes is kind of the minimum. So we're going to do that. We'll start that timer. Okay, and I'm going to finish with this other one here while I'm still talking to you. And hopefully by that time we'll pull them out and see how things turned out. So I'd love to hear some of your questions, your concerns, your challenges with getting more vegetables in your diet. I think that nowadays there are so many more ways, creative ways, to prepare vegetables that are very, very healthy and very, very easy. Okay? So it's just a matter of trying some different things that you weren't used to, things that your parents didn't do. I don't cook vegetables the way my mom did. Again, I love my mom. She fed us really well. She was a wonderful nurse and a wonderful cook. However, she cooked the way that she knew how to cook, you know? So it was a lot of vegetables on the side, or everybody remember the casserole? Yeah, that's what we had. A lot of tuna casseroles with some broccoli snuck in there. Or my personal favorite, she loved to sneak mushrooms into the spaghetti sauce, which I hated. I absolutely hated. But I'll tell you what, I love fresh mushrooms. Can't stand canned mushrooms, okay? So again, it can be about the preparation of the vegetables. The other piece too is I get a lot of questions about what are your thoughts on frozen versus fresh versus canned. They're all good, okay? A couple of things to keep in mind. You want to have, to watch out for those canned varieties of vegetables because they may have a lot of additives to keep them fresh, particularly sodium. So if you're watching your sodium intake, that might be a concern, although sodium gets more of a bad rap than it needs to. We'll go over that later. So that would be the big thing about canned vegetables. My preference is, if I were to rank them in terms of preference, I would choose fresh and then frozen and then canned. Okay? Canned can certainly be very easy because you just open the can and boom, there you go. Put them in the microwave or put them in your dish, there you're done. Fresh takes a little bit more preparation, as you can see. But when you prep the food ahead of time, you've actually saved yourself a lot of time throughout the week. So what I like to do is I like to take my produce when I come home from the grocery store on a Sunday afternoon, and I will take a few hours to prep my vegetables. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'm going to wash my hands again so I don't get oil everywhere. So yesterday I went to the grocery store and I bought a whole bunch of produce. And so what did I do? I chopped them all up. So in my crisper bin, I put in large baggies of already pre-chopped broccoli and cauliflower. So that way I don't put in the huge big stalks or the huge fresh cauliflower, and it sits in my drawer because I don't have the time or the energy to actually cut it up and make a mess and then clean up after myself. So now all I have to do is I just put them in these baggies and I just grab and go. I can grab them for raw treats, dipping them into hummus. I can also steam these in the microwave or in the oven. I can pan fry them. I can stir them into a lot of different dishes. One of my other favorite recipes is steaming cauliflower and then putting them in the Cuisinart for mashed potato alternative. Oh, it's so good. I'll show you that next time. So, again, it seems like a lot of extra work, but at the tail end, it saves you a lot of time, okay? And this is another tip. You might be able to get your kids involved a little bit, okay? Wouldn't they like to have their hands on these kale chips and massage them with oil and put them on the baking sheet for you? They can help out, and when they are helping out and they can see how much fun it is, how natural it is, then they get a little bit more of an interest in vegetables. It's all about exposing them to it. Gardening in the summertime is a fantastic way to get kids involved and get them excited about fresh vegetables. It is entirely possible, okay? And for the record, chicken McNuggets are not vegetables, okay? I know you guys know this. I'm preaching to the choir here, all right? So I'm going to stick this one in here as well, even though we've got 12 minutes left. We'll let that sit in there for an additional 5 after we're done. So I'm going to sign off for now. I'm going to let you get to it, and then we'll come back and we'll see how those kale chips turned out. I guarantee you, you're going to really love them. Hey everybody, welcome back to the kitchen. So my first batch of kale chips is done, and oh my goodness, they look fantastic. I don't know if you can see them real well. I'm going to pick this up and show it to you, okay? You notice that when I covered the baking sheet earlier, it was literally covering it. There was no spaces, so you can see how much they do shrink up, and they are quite dry, so you should pick them up. See? They're paper thin, whereas Monty Python once said, paper thin. So they're really delicious. They're nice bright green. Sometimes, depending on the bunch of kale that you get, they might be a little bit darker. But they're really tasty. They fall apart really easily though, so be very careful about that. And if you're going out for a lunch date afterwards, check your teeth. Okay, just a little tip from me to you. So when you pull them out of the oven, they're pretty well cooled. They cool pretty quickly. So I just put them in a Ziploc baggie, and this is what I have. I try not to mash them down there. I just drop them in there so that they're ready for me the next time I'm going to have them as a side to my meal. They may fall apart, that's okay. Still really a yummy way to get kale. I don't know about you guys, but kale's okay raw on a salad. That's fine if you like that. I find that to be really tough. Another trick is to make sure that you do massage those kale leaves with olive oil if you're going to use them in a salad. That helps to soften them up a little bit, but this is my favorite way of eating kale, is in these really light, papery kale chips. And every single time that I use this recipe, they come out perfect. Every single chip is nice and light and flaky and crisp. So, I hope you've enjoyed this session of Food for Thought. I hope you enjoy your kale chips at home, and I welcome your questions and anything else that I can help you with on your journey to soulful wellness. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Have fun.